Okay, we're at San Francisco Airport, runway 28 left, getting ready for takeoff. I've told you in the other video about the procedure for getting the engine started and everything. Once the engine's going, you don't need the ignition or the boost pump, but I leave them on for takeoff because takeoff is the most dangerous part. Obviously, if the engine's failed at takeoff, you'd be well buggered. So we just increase the revs now. We're going to assume that we've been cleared for takeoff. Then we just check again RPM, manifold pressure, oil temperature, oil pressure, fuel flow and fuel tanks. Everything's tickety-boo. As we're going to Alameda, our heading will want to be sort of north, so we'll just put the bug at north ready, release the brakes, and we need our nav lights, and away we go. The plane is starting to take off on its own. Just bring up the gear. There it goes. And we trim the nose down a bit because she really does reach this plane. Look at that angle. So I always have to trim the nose down a bit. I'll switch off my cabin lights because they distract me. The trim is here actually, and you can trim up and down, left and right. Left and right reflects the rudder. It's rudder trim. Now we're going to level out by switching on the autopilot here and selecting altitude. Once we level out, the plane is going to start getting a lot faster, so I also select speed, and then I put the speed at what I want the fastest speed to be, which is, we're going to have it at 230, which is a good speed. And now I'm just going to select heading, and as I already put in north, or 0 degrees is our bug, heading bug, that's already in there, and the plane is now, you can hear the engines regulating themselves to keep the speed constant at 230 knots. And now you can switch off the ignition and the boost pump. Outside air temperature 71 Fahrenheit. We do not need anti-ice until it's below 32. And there's another couple of features on here that I might as well show you. We've got the full display here, which is like a virtual display of the glide path that we need to follow, and approach is the same thing. Full display does the whole lot, and actually I think brings the plane in automatically. It's part of the autopilot. I'm not sure if it's, I think full display shows you it and approach brings you in. I never use it, you see. We've also got one that says level, that just brings you in at level, and the half is just the half banking. So we're going to NGZ airport, which is there, we've just selected, and so what we need to do is contact the tower at Alameda airport, which is codenamed NGZ. The tower is 127.05. We just put it into the radio here. 127.05. Enter. And then we can contact them and we can say that we are west of the airport and we want to land.
Alameda Tower, BeechJet 9 early McGough, west of the airport, for landing.
BeechJet 9 early McGough, report left downwind, runway 25, advise you monitor ATIS.
BeechJet 9 early McGough, roger.
First thing I do is I set the CDI to 250 degrees so that I know where that is. And he said left downwind, so we're going to be coming up like that and back down. So in fact we're going to have to turn left first and do a little loop because we've come too far. But that's quite handy because it means that we can have a little look at the Golden Gate, which is there, and there's the Golden Gate Bridge, and we can just make out Alcatraz there. And we are looking at the city of San Francisco there out of the window. I feel slightly dizzy. Just just going to drag that heading bug around. We're going to do a full loop. So there's the Golden Gate Bridge, there's Alcatraz, and there's these famous buildings of the city of San Francisco, which is all south. It all lies south of the Golden Gate Bridge. North of the Golden Gate Bridge is the sort of country park. So it's quite a fabulous area to be flying around. I also enjoy flying around Seattle. I don't know which I like more. Switch off the cabin lights so I can see a bit better. So to be left downwind, we've got to do a full loop, because we want to come back this way. There's our arrow, we're landing in that direction, so we want to do a full loop and come back this way with the runway on our left. So now we're going to cross the runway, so I'm going to straighten up. I'll just click the level button to do that quickly, and then we can set the heading bug downwind, which is obviously the back end of the arrow, and in a few seconds I'll engage that heading part of the autopilot again. Just checking the gauges while I've got a spare moment. No harm in eyeballing them from time to time. So I'm going to go ahead and click the heading, and off we go again. We tilt over, all automatically, all on the autopilot. There's the Golden Gate Bridge and the park up there. But you can follow that park. It goes all the way up to a peninsula right at the very end. It gets gradually smaller and smaller and smaller, and there we have Alcatraz. So now we're left downwind. So we report left downwind. Simple as that.
BeechJet 9 Lima Golf, left downwind, runway 25.
BeechJet 9 Lima Golf, number 1, clear to land, runway 25.
BeechJet 9 Lima Golf, clear to land.
So the runway we're going to go past and come back and land on. This display can be zoomed into and zoomed out of. We've got a 15-mile scale there at the moment, so you see it's quite far, going into 5 miles. We are 5 miles from the airport, which is about right. You saw a bit of traffic there. Plane flying there. See, just probably taken off from that airport actually, and just doing their climbing. We want to start looking for the runway now. Quite hard to see with all these lights, but I think that's probably it there. Quite a tricky one to find actually, Alameda, because of all the lights and because there's a lot of buildings around it. So it's just a question of experience, really, learning where it is. So we've got to go quite a way. We've got to go right past it, and then leave ourselves space to get round and descend. And notice that the engine revs are at 60 here, 60%, which is just quite a good amount for keeping up that nice speed that I like of 230. But as we're downwind, technically, really, we should be now going much slower. So I'm just going to be lazy and use the speed bug to bring us down to 180. And then once we get to 180, we can safely bring out the gear. We wouldn't want to bring out before that, because it would damage it. So our runway is sort of hidden in there. It's actually very hard to see the runway for Almeida. So I've given myself a tricky one, nighttime and difficult to see. And now the speed is low enough to flick this lever down, and the gear will come out. One light for each wheel to show us that all the wheels are out, and the revs will go up for us. We're just going to take the flaps. We're going to have 10 degrees of flaps. We may want to increase that as we get near the runway, just to give the plane a bit more lift and slow it down a bit, because it could be a short runway. It's not a main airport. I'm going to put my landing lights on, and I'm going to come about now using the heading bug. Be a little bit careful of the altitude here because there are some hills there, and the airport, don't forget, is not at 0 feet, it's at 2902. But we're okay, we're at 1500. In fact, I'm going to come down to 12. As you can see, it's not an easy airport to find. And drag the bug the rest of the way. The reason I don't drag the bug all the way to 180 degrees in one go is because the plane might turn the wrong way then. So just do it in halves, 90 degrees at a time. And zoom out a bit to try and see. And the airport is not quite at the right. I think we need to just come over this way a little, so that that arrow is lined up with the angle of the airport there, and it's actually time to get rid of the autopilot. I'm going to land this one manually. So I'm trimming the nose up. And don't forget that's a 15-mile zoom, so you can't see the airport when we come into 5 miles radius. So it can be quite deceptive. I just want the angle between the plane and that dot to be the same as the angle of that, and then we know that we're on target. Just trimming the nose up a little more, we're losing a bit too much height. Increase the revs a bit. And now we can see it. Now we can start to turn. Again, this is all manual now. And if the plane starts to descend too quickly, give a very good boost. You know, don't be shy, give a very good boost of power. And now I'm going to go to the easier view. There's the runway, I can see it, you probably can't. I know what I'm looking for. And it's going to be, we're going to be coming in a bit fast. I'm going to have some more flaps already. Which means that we need more revs. It's quite a balancing act, I can tell you. Because of course if this is a real plane we'd be able to operate the pedals with our feet. It's not a real plane, so we can't. Now we glide in. So you do actually run out of hands. And as I say, I use the trim. I actually use the trim rather than the stick. I am using the stick as well right now, obviously, and I'm going to use it here just to flare up. So that the back wheels hit first, then the front wheel. Then we get the inverters out and we power them up like mad. You'll see them there open, slowing the plane down. We're hitting the foot brakes at the same time, and we're steering with the rudder pedals, and now we have to decrease the engine. Any time today would be good, please. It's just a little bit of a bug in this simulator. I mean, this is a fantastic simulator. I'm not going to say a word against it, but it's hard to get the engine revs down after you've done that, I find. So once again, a pretty good landing. Time now to switch off the landing lights so we don't blind people. And I think we might as well just roll on all the way to the end of the runway now. Notice the water there. So if you don't stop in time, you've got a bit of a wet ending on this particular airport. That's why I thought it'd be an exciting one to show you. And I think there we must leave it because otherwise the video will be too long. Just to say, there we are, Almeida Airport, landing 8:30 at night, San Francisco. Don't forget to switch off your anti-collision lights.